Hey friends, welcome back to Six Hearts on Six Acres. If you've never been here before, my name is Bree and I'm so glad to have you. This is our final week of the Three Rivers Challenge hosted by Jessica from Three Rivers Homestead. Thanks to all this viral junk that's going around right now, I was not able to film a full week for you. You can hear I'm still pretty nasally and not feeling the best. But I did video everything until I got sick, which is several days and lots of recipes worth. So go ahead and watch. Hopefully I will give you some inspiration. I will make sure to link all of my recipes in the description box below so you can remake them in your own home. Everything that I made this week was delicious, but the salmon was by far my favorite. Right now I am throwing together a blueberry breakfast cake using some of the blueberries that we harvested. We have a local orchard and they do you pick blueberries, and so I love to can those up. I dry can my blueberries. I will make sure and show you how to do this summer because I didn't do it last summer. I had plenty still on my shelves, but it is definitely time to restock those. It's a super simple, easy way to get these on your shelf and have them be able to throw into all different kinds of recipes. We love them in pancakes, in cakes like this, in muffins, in pies, and in crumbles, and in smoothies. There are literally endless options how you can use these shelf-stable blueberries. Plus, they're really sweet and delicious. Once this blueberry cake was all in my container, I mixed up a crumble for the top. That was just a mixture of flour, sugar, butter, and cinnamon, and then you just sprinkle it on and let it bake. This blueberry cake was so good. It was the sweet little touch to our mornings that we definitely needed. It was perfect with coffee. And we wanted to, of course, have some protein with our breakfast to not just have that sweet sugary taste. So here in a little bit, I make some hard-boiled eggs, and we eat those with our breakfast as well. I cannot believe that January is already over and this pantry challenge is over for my family anyways. I know some creators are continuing this into February, but we are ready for some additional vegetables and foods that we didn't have on hand in our diet, and so we have decided to stop the pantry challenge now that February is here. I have really loved sharing all of the meals that we make though, and so make sure and let me know in the comments, is this something that you want to continue seeing, just kind of what I make throughout the week? Breakfast, lunch, dinners, all of the recipes. I would love to continue sharing these if you guys are interested, so just make sure and let me know below. This next recipe is just a snack. We call them energy balls. My kids pack their lunch and they also always need like a snack when they get home from school. So these are the perfect little bite-sized treat that they can take. They consist of oatmeal, chia seeds, honey, peanut butter, chocolate chips. You can mix in other things like I've done sometimes nuts before or dried fruits. I just went really simple and plain this day. But you just mix all of this up and then roll them into bite-sized balls. These keep really well in the refrigerator, although in my house they are always gone in 2 to 3 days because my kids and husband devour them. Here are those hard-boiled eggs I'm making to go along with that blueberry breakfast cake. We also just love to eat hard-boiled eggs as a snack sometimes as well. So they're something that I pretty much always have on hand in my fridge. Sometimes I make them in the Instant Pot and sometimes I just make them on my stovetop like this. I like to put them in the cold water, bring it to a boil, let it boil for 8 minutes, and then move them into the sink with cold water or an ice bath, either way, until they are cool. And then I just store them in the fridge with the shell on. I feel like they stay more fresh that way. That blueberry breakfast cake just came out of the oven and it made my kitchen smell so good. Dinner this night is going to be like a breakfast casserole kind of. I'm using, you can use whatever kind of ground meat that you want to use. I'm using some breakfast sausage. And then I like to really load my egg casseroles up with vegetables. And so in this one, I'm going to do grated carrots, and some frozen broccoli. Eggs are so stinking expensive right now, and my chickens are not laying. And so adding vegetables is a great way to really bulk up your casserole and also add tons of vitamins and nutrients to it to make it better for your family's belly as well. Luckily, my kids love vegetables for the most part. There's a few, like Olivia hates squash and zucchini, she says. But for the most part, they will eat any vegetable that I add into the meal, and so I so appreciate that. You can season this up however you like. I use salt, pepper, garlic, and onion on this meat and vegetable mixture. And then in the egg mixture, I put those same things, but I also put quite a bit of smoked paprika in there. If you were with me this summer when we were preserving the garden, these are those stuffed jalapenos that we made up. They are just stuffed with cream cheese and wrapped in bacon, and then we vacuum sealed them and froze them. These are so easy to just pop right out of the freezer. I cook them from frozen. All I do is break them apart, throw them in a dish, and throw them straight into the oven. Now, these ones were actually too spicy for me to eat. That's the thing about jalapenos. Like, you never know. Sometimes they're going to be pretty mild, and sometimes they're going to be very hot, and you never know until you try a bite. My husband, though, loves spicy food, and he was so excited to have these. He said they tasted just like they did when we made them fresh. For my family of 6, I think I used about a dozen eggs here. And then I also always add in a little bit of milk to just really make that egg mixture fluffy. I am so over buying eggs from the store, and I'm really hoping that my chickens start laying again soon. I'm getting like 1 egg every day or even every other day sometimes. And I have 11 laying hens, so I'm really hoping they start to pick up soon. Oh yeah, I also had a little bit of this peach barbecue sauce left over from our chicken that we made last week, and so I just threw it into this egg mixture as well. All of this goes into, I don't know what size pan this is actually. I was going to say a 9x13, but it's bigger than my 9x13 pans. Whatever size pan you want. I went with a big one because we had it so loaded full of veggies. But I threw all of that mixture in there and then just topped it with the eggs. And of course, you can't have an egg casserole without some cheese on top. So I grated up some Colby Jack cheese and just topped this, and into the oven it went. While that egg casserole was baking, my energy balls had been setting in the fridge for about an hour now, and so they were ready to turn into balls. All I do is just use my cookie scoop. This makes about 1-inch size balls, which are perfect for my kids. They are very easy to just roll up, and they stay together really well. This is a great job to get your kids in the kitchen. Mine all had homework this night, so they didn't help, but usually this is their job. Because we had breakfast for dinner and we were all starting to get hit with this respiratory garbage, I pulled out some juice that we had canned up. This is a pressed apple juice. My husband's grandma gave me her juicer, and it does the best job at making apple juice. I love using that. And so we are just mixing this with some cranberry juice that we canned up as well to just give us a big punch of vitamin C and help us get over this sickness. That apple juice wasn't sweetened at all, and this cranberry juice was very, very lightly sweetened. So I had Olivia taste this, and we did end up adding a little bit of sugar just to make it taste better. Breakfast casserole is coming out of the oven, as well as the jalapenos at the same time, and it is time to have dinner. I feel like juice isn't something that a lot of people think about when you're thinking about foods that you can preserve, but this is something that we really love having on our shelf. This apple juice pressed this way tastes so much better than just like a clear apple juice that you would buy at the store. And I don't know this for sure, but I feel like it has to have more nutrition in it as well. You see me just now struggling to get these spaghetti squash cut open. These are from our summer garden. They hold up really well in storage, but they are a pain to open up because they are so hard. So I just get those cut in half, and then I top them with a little bit of avocado oil, salt, and pepper, and I'm going to bake them until they're soft. It took me about 45 minutes on 350 degrees. While those are getting going, I made some sourdough bread. I didn't record this since I've showed you several times, but I made this up the other day, and typically I bulk ferment on my countertop and then shape it and put it into my Banneton. I did not have time to shape this before work this morning, so I just threw it straight into my fridge after bulk fermentation on the counter. I wasn't sure if this loaf of bread was going to turn out. The dough was pretty stiff getting it shaped like this because it was so cold already. But I went ahead and shaped it, got it into the banneton, and let it set in the fridge for another 24 hours. Letting it ferment for this long really increases the amount of pre and probiotics that it has and makes it super gut healthy. It adds a little bit more of a sourness or a tang to the bread, but I really like that flavor personally. And this loaf of bread still turned out perfect. So if you're ever in a pinch, yes, your dough can go in the fridge before it is shaped. For dinner this night, we are doing a salmon recipe. I kind of just went and looked in my freezer and found what I wanted to use up and made this up in my head. So this is a bag of those roasted cherry tomatoes we did last summer. We had vacuum sealed those and froze them. And so I just thawed that out, poured it over the salmon, and then I'm topping it with the shishito pepper and basil pesto that we made. I keep this in my freezer, so it's still slightly frozen. I'm kind of struggling to get it out of the jar, but it added so much amazing flavor to this dish. I'm a huge seafood fan and could live off of seafood alone, probably. And luckily, my kids, for the most part, like it as well. This was my last jar of pesto that I have left, and so I'm going to be probably doubling or tripling the amount of that I make this summer because I always do grow a huge amount of basil, but a lot of time I just end up letting it flower and using it in bouquets. I'm going to make sure to not waste any of it this year. Once that spaghetti squash was soft, I just scooped out the flesh and then I put in some butter and Parmesan cheese and salt and pepper and just mixed that together really well. And then I made like a layered dish out of this. So the bottom was that spaghetti squash. And then on top, I put a piece of the salmon with the tomatoes. And then I topped that with some fresh pesto and fresh Parmesan cheese. And this meal was amazing. I even took it to work the next day for lunch and it reheated really well and was so good. I'm going to be making this over and over. It is now the next day, and when I mixed up that sourdough bread, I also mixed up a batch of bagel dough, which I have shown you before as well. So again, I didn't record this. I will put the recipe in the description below though. I needed something quick and easy for dinner tonight, and I had planned on just using this for like breakfast sandwiches, but I thought, you know what? I have all of the stuff for pizza, but I didn't feel like making pizza crust, so I thought I'm gonna make like homemade bagel bites for dinner. These were a big hit with everybody. While I was making them, I thought we were gonna have plenty to be able to send in the kids' lunches the next day, but we actually ate all of these for dinner that night. I think next time that I have a little bit of free time, I'm gonna make a bunch of these up and completely like turn them into pizza bagel bites and then freeze them so my kids can just have a quick and semi-healthy meal that they can make on their own. This is going to come in really handy come garden time when I am outside and they need some lunch really quickly. So bagels have to be boiled. I like to add a little bit of baking soda and a little bit of honey to my pot of water. And then you boil them for 30 seconds to a minute. It doesn't take long at all. And when you pull them out, I like to throw them onto parchment paper. Make sure and get as much of that water off as you possibly can. And then just do a quick egg wash and they bake up really quickly. We topped these bagels with some mozzarella cheese, some chopped up pepperoni, obviously some of our garlic and herb tomato sauce. And then also I did half of them with some of these banana peppers that we pickled from the garden. I am a supreme pizza fan, so if I would have had like olives and bell peppers and stuff like that, I would have definitely thrown those on these bagels as well. but I was happy to find a way to use these pickled peppers. I made so many pickled peppers. And honestly, the only way that we really ever use them is on pizzas, and I like to throw them in roast and then sometimes in salads, but they're not super crunchy. I need to work on that recipe again and see if I can figure out how to get them to have a little bit more of a crisp. When these bagels came out of the oven, all I did was cut them in half, and then we started just loading them up with all of the toppings. And then I baked them again. Avery was my helper tonight. She loves to help with dinner, and so she threw all of these pizza toppings on here. I tell you this all the time, but I absolutely love having my kids in the kitchen with me. Cooking with them is by far my most favorite way of spending time with them, and we all really love to see what we can come up with in the kitchen. And these kids, even though they're all fairly young, really like to get in here and experiment and see what they can create on their own as well, which I think is really fun. Hopefully, I am building up their confidence in the kitchen so that as they get older and are ready to really take on meals on their own, that they feel completely capable of doing so. I'm ready to bake this loaf of sourdough bread now, so I just take it out of the fridge. I sprinkle a little bit of rice flour on the top of that and just really smooth it in, and then score it however you would like. I did just some little stems of wheat, and I always think that that looks really pretty on there. You don't have to make your bread pretty, but I don't know. It's a part of the process that I think is really fun. What you do need to do though is make a deep score, and you'll see me do that in the side in just a minute. That really helps your bread to rise evenly, and it creates that ear, which is really pretty. And I usually break it off when I'm starting to cut it and just eat it. It's a crispy chunk of the bread that's not super easy to cut, but it is really delicious. I have really been enjoying this sourdough journey. It's been a few months now, and I have 100% completely replaced all of my home's bread products with this. I feel like it's fairly easy. You can easily maintain a schedule, and everything tastes delicious. And I feel so much better putting this in our bodies than store-bought bread, which is loaded with garbage. This has 3 ingredients: flour, water, and salt. That's it. So this is going to be how I continue to feed my family bread. My grandparents gave me their grain mill several years ago, and I have just let it set and I've never messed with it. But I think that in the next couple weeks, I'm going to pull it out and start experimenting with milling my own grains and using that in my sourdough. I think that's just really going to take it an extra step and just really increase the amount of nutrition that we get from that bread. This is the end of the video though, so thank you so much for being here with me, and until I see you next time, may God bless.